So, I was probably a month over 18 when I got pregnant. My boyfriend was very controlling, always yelling and screaming. After we got married, it got even worse. I stayed with him for 8 years and fell in love with my current husband, Arthur, during that time. I know we were wrong to have an affair, and I deserve judgment for that. I mean, it cost me my daughter, Sophia, who is now 21. I should have been stronger and just left my ex because I doubt he even needed to brainwash her to make her hate me. I tried to be there and fight for shared custody, but Sophia wanted nothing to do with me after my ex got remarried. Sophia got a great stepmother who asked to adopt her when she turned 15. Legally, I didn't want it to happen and wanted to fight it. But if my being her mom hurt her so much and she wanted a new one, I let it go because it was my fault, and I'd already lost her long ago. Hello, I'm Emily Ray. I am presenting for you these compelling stories, offering keen insights into the intricacies of human emotions and relationships that I have been suffering for so long. After she legally stopped being my daughter, I reconnected with Arthur. We married and had a daughter, and now I'm pregnant with our boy. I'd still see Sophia since she goes to my mom's house a lot because that was still her grandma, even if I'm not her mom. My mom, however, died 2 weeks ago, and it's caused a lot of chaos in everybody's lives. Now we have that weird tradition where the eldest daughter gets a collection of special necklaces. I was the eldest, so I got my mom's special necklaces and wore one to her funeral, just like she did to her mom's funeral. At the funeral, when Sophia saw me, she shook my hand like I was a stranger and just said, "Sorry for your loss, Mrs. Ray." Then, after the funeral, she pulled me aside and asked if she would be allowed to take some of the necklaces early because she'd like to wear them to the wake. I just told her no, that the necklaces were mine, and after me they'd belong to my daughter because she's the oldest in the family. She just said okay and didn't talk to me at the wake except to say thanks when I gave her my mother's much more valuable rings. My brother told me I should have let her have some of the necklaces, and I was an idiot not to. My mother was the last thing tying Sophia to me, so I don't see how I'm the idiot for what I did, not the idiot. Sophia may be your daughter by blood, but she's no longer your daughter in any other sense of the word, because she no longer wants to be your daughter. Your heirloom should go to children who will view you as their mother. If your brother wants to give Sophia some of his things, let him. He doesn't get to dictate to you, and he's an idiot for trying. Tell him where to stuff it. Wow, you are the idiot. What a dumpster fire of a family. Who leaves their child with someone they know to be an abuser like, "Hey, I got out, but screw my kid." Mind-blowing by all saying that OP is not the idiot. Everyone is acting like since a teen has to be adopted, then OP is off the hook. OP never had a true connection with her firstborn child and has no emotional attachment whatsoever. It's not that complicated. I think the most important part of the story is OP had a daughter. The daughter was adopted by someone else, doesn't cop as a mother, calls her Mrs. Ray like she's a stranger, and then asks for family jewelry. LOL, no, not the idiot for refusing. But OP's daughter was a child, and deep down, she probably wanted OP to fight for her. OP, your daughter probably took your affair as a sign that you didn't love your family, and she wanted you to fight for her. My heart breaks for her, and I hope you both can find your way to each other. Oh, wow. Everyone missed this one. It sounds like the tradition is to receive the necklaces once the matriarch dies, so even if she still was considered your daughter, she wouldn't get them until you died. Yes, she's kind of saying, "Birth mom, you're already dead to me, give me a necklace." You are the idiot. You could try acting like a mother now since you didn't care for all of Sophia's childhood. She's still your daughter. You were the one who made the bad choices, and it's entirely on you how this relationship has gotten messed up. Don't act like a mother and pretend she's not your daughter. It would not hurt for you to give her a necklace and to say she won't get them because she isn't the oldest daughter, which she is BS. I have had nose and sinus issues my entire life. I could never breathe without my nose, to the point where not only my smell and taste were almost non-existent, but I could only mouth breathe. I also had snot 24/7. Sometimes it's like a leaky tap where it would not stop. I got made fun of a lot at school and it used to make my teachers angry. I was so self-conscious and didn't have any friends. My parents always said there was no cure or anything when they took me to the doctor. At the beginning of this year, I moved for a job. I got here a few weeks before my start date to get set up. This is where it started. Within days of moving here, I could breathe out of my nose, no more snot, and I could smell and taste. It freaked me out at first because this had never been possible in my life. I'm not a mouth breather anymore, and my sleep is not disturbed now. Besides the pay, one of the good things about my job is that it comes with insurance. I have several appointments coming up: a checkup at the dentist, the eye doctor, and a general doctor for the first time since I was 12. I had these appointments when I was a kid, but when I was about 12, my dad got a new job, and the insurance wasn't good. We only went to the doctor or dentist for major things like a broken bone. I was still on my dad's insurance before I got my job. My new doctor asked for my medical records, and if I had them. My first doctor was gone, but the building is still there, and they had mine from a long time ago. There wasn't much from the second. This is where I found out my parents lied to me. In my old records, it says that the dry air hurts my sinuses a bunch of times. The doctor says a less dry climate would relieve them, and besides that, there's medication, and a humidifier would help. It says so over and over. They never told the second doctor this information either. I asked my parents about it, and they were angry I got the medical records because they said it was private. My mom said they didn't try medication because it was too much of a hassle to remember to give me the pills. My dad said moving was out of the question since it would remove my sister from her friends, and a humidifier was too much work for Mom. I'm not so self-centered. I think they should have moved, but if I had this info when I was older, I could have been responsible for my medication, and I would have moved from Nevada when I was 18 if I knew it would help. My parents must have told my sister everything, because she blew up my phone with calls and messages saying I shouldn't have snooped in the medical records. And Mom and Dad were right to tell me there was no cure because the medication and other stuff was too much to put on their plate. Am I the idiot for being furious about this? If I knew, I could take steps to fix this when I was old enough. I'm also perturbed they think my not being able to breathe properly was no big deal. I, female 32, and my fiancé, male 34, Aaron, are getting married soon. We got done with the wedding planning, although my future mother-in-law disagreed with every arrangement we had. The whole issue came up recently. Aaron and I were discussing the wedding photos, and the facial scar that I had in my early 20s came up. Aaron suggested that we have this area of my face, where my scar is located, photoshopped. I laughed, thinking he was joking, but he said it was for real. I was taken aback, but he explained that this is what photoshopping is for, and that these are wedding photos that last for years, and he'd rather them be flawless. I looked at him and asked if he saw my face as a flaw. He immediately apologized and said not, and it's just that all couples point out what should and should not be photoshopped to get the best wedding photos. He then admitted it was his mom's suggestion, and he saw that she had a point this time. Enjoying the story so far? Show your support by liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's dive back into the story. I refused, and we began fighting. Aaron said that I was a huge overreactor, and that it was not about the scar itself, but the overall look of the photos. And I was being too sensitive for no reason. I argued with my future mother-in-law after she nicely tried to talk me into considering it. Most of the women in the family agreed with her and Aaron and said this is what photoshopping is for, and lots of people do it because they're not happy with a specific area in their appearance. I told them I'm different because I'm not bothered by my appearance, nor do I want to change it for any reason or occasion for that matter. They went on to say I need therapy for me to cope with my past trauma, but I don't think my refusal has anything to do with it. Aaron is visibly upset with my response. He said he loves me no matter what, and it was ridiculous to be so hung up on this nonsense and hold it against him and his family who want what's best for me. I don't know if this is just my past insecurities popping up, and I'm not sure if I'm overreacting and getting offended for no reason. Am I the idiot? I have massive scars in various places on my body, and many of them are openly visible in my wedding photos. One of my in-laws made the same suggestion about Photoshop, and my husband shut her down by pointing out we wanted the photos to be of us, not some perfect, unrealistic image of us. I'm so sorry that your fiancé and his family are shallow enough to think that photos of you as you aren't good enough, one commenter wrote. This is what I don't understand. Why would he want pictures that aren't you? I could see if this was temporary, like a recent incident that would be resolved in a week, but wanting to change who you are for photos. Have Aaron's idiot face photoshopped out of your photos and see if he likes how you fix the flaws, another one said, while someone else agreed and suggested his face gets photoshopped with Ryan Reynolds' face. Tell them you love him no matter what, but it's your wedding photos, and you want them to look flawless. Both Aaron and his mom are the idiots here. I'm surprised you want to get married into a family that doesn't like how you look, and want to change you through Photoshop, and even saying you need to go to therapy. Holy moly, they sound like terrible people who want to control and change you into what they think is perfect. My older sister, 31, and I, 22, female, have been close since childhood until now. So, my sister's been engaged to this Korean immigrant guy, 25 male, for 2 years. However, they hadn't found time to plan the wedding because my sister was always away at her job. Everything seems innocent so far until I tell you that he wasn't interested in her. He didn't have much money, and my sister's pretty wealthy, so pretty much he only married her for the money. Once, while my sister was at work, the fiancé stayed over at my parents' house, and he said hello to me. We chatted before he admitted to me he didn't like my sister. Me being a stupid 21-year-old, I agreed to keep it a secret. The next night, things were moving so fast that we ended up sleeping together and making out in bed. That was the first night that he cheated. So, fast forward to yesterday when my sister was organizing the wedding. At first, it didn't concern me that my sister was marrying a cheater. She's strong and independent, so I thought she would have brushed it off. But again, things took a turn after the ceremony when my sister and now brother-in-law started to dance. While I was going to grab a slice of cake, I noticed them dancing tightly. But when my sister wasn't looking, my brother-in-law gave me a mischievous wink. My heart started to race and my heart felt horrible for my sister. I didn't want to do this, but I couldn't live knowing my sister was staying with him. So when brother-in-law went for a drink, I pulled her over to her corner and told her everything. My sister was nonchalant at first, but then she ran off crying to my parents. My parents were equally mad at me and my brother-in-law, and we were kicked out of the wedding. I don't know what to do anymore. Am I the idiot? One commenter's response was, "You're kidding, right? You are the idiot for not telling her sooner what he thought about her, for sleeping with her fiancé in the first place, for not saying anything before the wedding. Jesus, how can you call yourself a sister? Maybe by blood, never with your soul. If I were in your family, I'd go no contact with you. I wouldn't want you anywhere near me or anything I loved. You might try to sleep with it. The only positive I can see in this situation is that you might get a choice about which circle of hell you'll end up in. Your poor sister. My girlfriend, 22, loves to sleep. So if she isn't doing something important, she sleeps. She will nap throughout the day and it's impossible to wake her up. She doesn't wake up from an alarm clock and uses me instead. I wouldn't mind, but she makes it such a hassle to even get her out of bed. I have to first wake her up from her initial sleep, come back a bit later, shake her again, then finally pick her up and make her stand before she finally gets up. This has been going on for some time now, and she's never had a real reason to urgently get up. I've never mentioned having an issue with this, besides getting a bit frustrated sometimes. A couple of days ago, she had to get up for her first workday in a corporate office. The following day, she made me promise that I'd get her up on time. I said I'd try, and she said I needed to promise her. So I told her I'd try again, and she kept stressing how important it was for her to get up. The next morning rolls around, and I'm trying to nudge her awake. It doesn't work. I stood her up and she fell back down. I even stood her up out of bed, and when I came back to our room, she was lying in bed again. I shook her one final time and she said something in gibberish that made zero sense. I gave up and just watched as the time went by. She came down an hour after she told me to wake her up, and she was running around the house trying to get ready. So she ended up being late. When she came home, she was mad at me. LMAO, I was in shock. I told her I couldn't believe she was blaming me. She told me that I made her a promise, and I told her that I tried. I tried, and even after explaining everything, how I tried to wake her up, she said it was my fault. We got into an argument, and she said she couldn't rely on me. And if I had a problem with this system, then I should have said something. Okay, who the heck wants to be someone's human alarm clock that doesn't even work half the time? She's a full-grown adult, and it shouldn't be my responsibility always to wake her up. She told me if I was an adult, I would have brought up this issue with her before. Nah, I still don't see how this is my fault at all. Regardless of if I had an issue with this or not, I did what she asked me to do, and it didn't work. No matter how I explain this to her, she refuses to see it my way and just says, "I made you promise." Am I the idiot? I don't think I am. Not the idiot. It's her job, her life, and ultimately her responsibility to make sure she wakes up on time because that's what being an adult requires. So what's your plan for if you're out of town? Demand someone else come over and play the alarm clock? Why hasn't she taken the initiative to see a doctor if normal measures aren't working? Honestly, if she's that incapable of waking up when she needs to, this is a medical issue. And she needs to be taking responsibility for that by seeking help, not offloading all the labor of dealing with her condition onto you. She made you promise, so she knows it's a huge problem already. She's an adult. She should have figured out a plan B for herself if this was so important to her. She's going to work, not you. She doesn't want to take accountability for her actions and is playing the victim game again. She would be shifting the blame because it's much easier to blame you than actually to take responsibility. Because 1, this is her pattern. I say this because it's weird how logic isn't so simple for her to grasp. Or 2, she put that responsibility on you so she wants you to take it. LOL. I'm sorry, does she want you to put on a business suit too and clock in for her? Let's conclude our story. Despite the tumultuous events and the difficult decisions made, each character now faces the consequences of their actions. Opie, confronted with the harsh reality of his family's neglect, must now navigate a path forward, armed with the truth about his medical history. With newfound clarity, he can prioritize his well-being and make informed choices for his future. As for the wedding debacle, the revelation of the brother-in-law's betrayal and the subsequent fallout have left the family in disarray. While trust may have been shattered, perhaps this stormy chapter will pave the way for a stronger, more authentic bond among them. Lastly, the tale of the reluctant human alarm clock brings to light the complexities of responsibility and accountability in a relationship. As the dust settles, both partners must reevaluate their roles and expectations, striving for a healthier balance and mutual respect. In the end, each character emerges changed, their paths diverging yet intertwined by the threads of their shared experiences. Though the road ahead may be uncertain, they carry with them the lessons learned and the resilience gained from facing life's trials head-on. Thanks for watching. How did you find the story? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more awesome stories like this. Your feedback and support mean a lot.